Okay, so here I just logged into our demo environment. It's the latest 12.2.12 environment. So the idea of the tool that we have is to have a function inside the eBusiness Suite navigation. So it's a custom form called Blitz Report. We can open the form either from the navigation menu here, or we can also use this Excel icon here at the top. So we have an Excel icon, because for users, it's intuitive. When they want to run an Excel export, they click on this Excel icon, and then they can open a report, the form. So this is our custom form, the Blitz Report form. It opens automatically with the report that the user ran directly before. So that if you run the same report 100 times a day, it opens directly with that report. And as a user, you click on run, and then it starts a background concurrent process. And once that process is completed, it opens the output in Excel like this. So that is the main functionality. And
If I give any parameter for the report.
yes, then you mean, yeah, it's the same as Orca standard. So you can restrict the reports by various parameters, for example, the customer names. Let me see. On my network.
Is it custom form here?
Yes. So this is our custom Blitz report form. Oh, I lost connection for some reason. Let me log in again.
Please reconnect.
Yes. Might be because I'm using the mobile connection here. Okay. Because the internet at my location did not allow, it's not loading.
How to? This is a Blitz report, the icon in the front end. This is the custom icon. Have you added here?
Yes, exactly. So that is done through the custom PLL. Okay, so now it's coming back. Looks like. Let me see. Yeah, there was a problem with the connection somehow.
Okay. Is it R12 form?
Yes, we have 12.2.12 on our demo environment, but the solution works with all EBS environments, even for 11i. Which EBS do you use? Which version?
12.2.4.
Okay. Yes, that also would work. So we have this Excel icon again. So let's see. Now connection is hopefully more stable. So this is our custom form. So to run the reports, you click on run. And here you see on this button, you see the status. It was a little bit quick. It shows the concurrent request status, because every report runs as a concurrent request. And so you see the status of that request directly on that button, so that you don't have to go to view requests. So you see here now it shows output, but when you click on run, it shows pending and then running. So now it shows pending and then it shows running. And then once it's completed, it opens the output automatically like this.
It always open in the Excel format.
Yes, you can also change it to CSV or text output if you, for example, need an outbound interface, or you could convert it to a PDF if you would like to have a PDF. But it's more for data. Users always want Excel, so that's why that is the native format that the tool creates. And it also has the first line fixed here. You see, auto filter set and so on.
If I want to the any report in the PDF as a format, as a record format, is it possible?
Yes, you can here on these options, you can create post processes, and we have one example, creating a PDF from the Excel output. And then you could convert the output file to PDF instead. But then it looks like this. So it's basically as if you save the Excel directly to a PDF format. That's for read only. So it's not so much for printed documents, it's really for data.
Okay.
And yeah, as a user, you can, let me take out the PDF format again. As a user, you can basically select a report here. So you have a list of many reports. It depends on which role you have. So you see now we have 2,700 reports in the system. I only see all the reports now because I'm logged in as a developer. As a user, you would only see the reports that you are allowed to see. So for example, finance user and general ledger would only see the GL reports and so on.
How to registration the report as well in application developer?
To create him, or what do you mean?
No,
Sorry,
that means there are many reports in the queue. Just
yes.
how did you register the report in database?
That would be done here behind the setup button. So you would, as a developer, you have the setup button. So users don't have access, but as a developer, you can create new reports here. So here, for example, you would say, so a report is basically just the name, the SQL query, then parameter restrictions, and the security, which means on which request group, on which responsibility the report is accessible. So to create a new report or to register a new one, you would create a new entry, let's say test report or report like this. And then you need the AP. You need the SQL query. And then you have a report. So this is the output from the query, basically. And you see it's very quick. So you don't need any XML template, you don't need any layout template, or you don't need to register a concurrent process. You can just enter the SQL query and enter the name, and then the report is ready. Or you could, for example, AP invoices. Let me make it more interesting. And APS ID equals. I'm adding the AP invoice data so that it's a more interesting data set. Vendor name. Segment 1, vendor number. Okay. I hope it's correct, or do you see a typo? Otherwise, here on this tab, we would add parameters. So parameters are typically just the name and the where clause. So we can, for example, copy parameters from other reports. So in this case, I'm looking for an invoice date from parameter, and I can copy them from these different reports, for example, from this one. Or invoice. Oh, I want to bring up the list of value. Invoice date, go, this one. So now we have parameters, 1st of Jan 05. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it seems to work. So we have now all the AP invoice data from January 2005. Then on the first two columns come from AP suppliers, and then we have all these columns from AP invoices. And as a user, you might not need all these columns because now I selected asterisk, all the columns.
If I give the any specific column, that will show the specific column.
Sorry, I didn't understand. If you give just few columns, or what did you mean? Once again, if you select only a few columns, or what do you mean?
Now, there are showing many columns in the Excel report.
Yes.
If you specify any column, that will show here a specific column data.
Yes. Yeah. So you could, for example, say here, you could say instead of all of them, invoice
num,
and AIA invoice dates like this, right? Then it shows only these columns. But that is, yeah, you see, so it reflects directly in the output. But easier would be to use our custom screen for that, because we have a template screen. So you could select all of them like this. And then the user, so this is for the developers. The setup screen is for developers, but the users, they can create templates. And here on the template screen, they can select which columns they like to see. For example, if they only want to see the invoice number, currency code, amounts, and let's say date and the source, something like this, for example. And we can move the amounts to the end, for example. Yeah, like this. So the users, they can select the columns themselves and by creating their own templates. So now I have selected only a few relevant columns like these. That's easier than in SQL, basically. Or as a developer, you would provide many columns and the users can choose what they would like to see. And they have also additional layout options. They could, for example, say if they want every invoice source on a different data sheet, they can define a sheet break here. And then it creates for every invoice source a different sheet. So you see now we have one source for, yeah, you see one for external manual invoice entry. So these different sheets. So that's how the sheet break works. Or they could say they want to pivot the data, let's say by invoice source and type, and take the amount like this, maybe by with the currency, yes, here. Then it comes out with an additional pivot layouts of the data. So there's now 3 sheets. So first sheet in the workbook is the Excel, the data in the same way as before. Second sheet is then pivoting. You see here with these fields. And the last sheet is the parameter sheet. So which query was running and which date, which parameters were supplied and so on. And
Excellent. I think it's showing very easy.
yes, quick and
Actually,
easy.
we are we are creating the report in report developer or XML publisher and XML code. So I think it's very difficult, or I think your system is very easy.
Yes.
And actually, if we run any report, that time we go to the request, run request, submit request. There are many steps. But
Yes.
your report as an end user, and the end user can see the any report is very easily and different form.
Yes, that's the whole idea, that we wanted to save as many mouse clicks as possible. So that's why we have
Yes, actually we if we actually many user always request to us that how to see the report very easily, because when user want to see that view request, submit request, then select the report, then give the parameter, then another request yes or no, then refresh data. And I think there is many steps, but your
more
request
clicks.
is
Yes.
more complex and not easy for end user. That's your system is very easy and step is very few.
Yes. And also the output is more flexible, because that's also what the users like. So first is less mouse clicks, and they can do this themselves. So they can create pivots, or they can select the columns. And if you do reports builder or be a publisher, then it always comes out in the same format, and the users cannot decide which columns they would like to see. Or in this case, if they would like to have it in a different format, they could, for example, they could even do things like this. So they can create something like a pie chart, or maybe insert so they can use Excel functionality and then save it as a template. So let's say we want the currency as a slicer to only see US dollar, for example. And we can insert one more aggregation. So users, they can even create dashboards like this. Let's say they want to see the biggest suppliers in a bar chart. Let's say, yeah, the whole tool, the idea is to make it easier to get to the report data with less work.
How many company use this your tools?
The moment about 100. So we just
100.
started about 4 years ago, and mainly in the US. So we have, yeah, last year we tripled our user base. Last year was very exciting because last year we won Amazon, for example, and Acer, the laptop company in Taiwan, and also some other quite large ones. So Hitachi Vantara or some other brands you might know. Scania, the truck company, you might know. And then we have here in Europe, Thales is a large defense manufacturer in Europe. And yeah, so, and some other names which are not on this list yet, which are in the process or which did not give their approval to show their logo yet. But yeah, basically it's, last year was quite exciting.
Is this company use the Oracle EBS? SR, Asian.
Or what do you mean? If it's only using EBS or? So all these companies are using EBS. Is that what you mean? Or?
All this company, they are showing the many company here. All this
Yes,
company use EBS.
yes, all of them are Oracle eBusiness Suite. EBS is large, it's huge, it's the majority. So we think that there are more than 20,000 EBS companies, companies using eBusiness Suite around the world. So this is only a small number so far. And Amazon even does a new implementation. So they just went live with a complete new Oracle eBusiness Suite implementation.
My question here, actually, some user works in the payable, some user works in inventory, some user works in manufacturing or receivables, the GL. Just so we created a request group and add the request group in the responsibilities. But
Yes.
your report tools, how to different, but how to specific for a specific user. Just
So
security. Okay.
that would be done here on this assignment. So let's assume you have this report here.
Just this test report is for the payables, but how to
Yes.
assign this report only for the payables user?
So here we would probably do it then, easiest would be on application level then. So it's basically right now, if there are no assignments, no user would be able to run it because if there's no assignments, only developers can run it. So right now I'm logged in as a developer. So then I have full access and can run any report regardless if they're assigned or not. But the users can only run reports for which they have assignments. And we have Oracle standard assignment is request group. But in some cases, you have many request groups and you want to give the report to every user, which is in a responsibility linked to payables. And then, so in this case, because this is AP invoice, so you could say this report should be assigned to the application payables. And that means that every user and a responsibility that is linked to the payables application would be allowed to run the report. And on the other end, you could also assign it to individual users or even to forms. Let me show you the forms assignment.
We can you can report only for a specific user if you select the user.
And then only that user is allowed to run it, basically. Or you could even exclude users. So you could say everyone except certain persons, people. Or yeah.
If we give the report in the 10 users, just we should add the 10 users in the form.
The idea, yeah, exactly. If
Among is only for one user. But if I want to add the another user, how to add? Just create another line, right?
yeah, like this, yes, exactly. So it's an OR functionality basically.
Understand.
So then these two users would have access. But typically reports, they are not specific for users. So usually you would assign them on higher levels
Understood.
or even on forms level. So you could, that is the most interesting. So you can assign the reports to Oracle standard forms or also custom forms. So here, for example, you can assign a report to the AP invoice workbench. And then when we go to the AP invoice workbench in payables, so now I'm in manufacturing, I think. Yes, let me go to payables. Here, we can open the Oracle Standard AP Invoice Workbench. And let me query invoices first so that you can see 1st of Jan. So here, let's assume we have an invoice open. So we have this Excel icon again, and now there's a yellow star next to it. So that yellow star means favorites. That means on this Oracle form, we have specific reports. For example, our test report, you see here. And then we can open directly our report from this Oracle screen. We could even transfer parameters. So let's say we want to default the supplier name field here with the supplier of the invoice that we have open. So we can also do that by identifying the forms field, so which is this one. The field is vendor name. And then we can open our report and complete the setup. So we can say, if we come from the AP invoice workbench, we want one of the parameters, the supplier name, we want to default it with the field vendor or vendor name, like this. And that means next time we click on this icon, it's just 2 mouse clicks basically. And we can run, in this case, it's probably a large data set. We can run the supplier, the history of that supplier only. You see, this is now the invoice history for the Advantage Corp only. Or if we are on a different record, let's say this one, Stargate Limited, same thing basically. 2 mouse clicks, and the users have nicely the invoice history for that supplier only. You see, this is now Stargate. And especially in finance, so in finance, the users like it a lot. So for example, we have on the general ledger screen, on the journal screen, let me query some journals. You're right, probably good. Yeah, which one? One of the bigger ones, maybe this one. So if we want the details of a certain journal, let's say the 16 million, can click on this Excel icon again, select the report, let's say the account analysis. And we also optimize the list of reports that are shown so that the one that you ran, that every user ran directly before, shows out on the top of the list. So that if they just bring up the list and click enter, then it's the one that they ran before. So that's easy to find then. And now we have, in this case, we have the account analysis. So on the first sheet, we have the detailed data for every subledger transaction. And on the second sheet, we have then the amounts pivoted by account hierarchy. So in this case, for example, for that journal, we have those 5 different accounts affected. And we have then the amounts. And for finance users, they like it because they can see now on this inventory resource value, the 44,000, they can double click and then they have here the individual amounts, for example, all the chart of account segments, then the amounts, and then they also have subledger transaction details, for example, here for that to the right. If it's sales order related, they have the sales order number and customer name and customer number. And they also have the material transaction details that caused that general ledger transaction. So in this case, it was from sales order issue and sales order pick transactions. Oh, sorry, I just clicked on the wrong, clicked on mute. Can you unmute yourself again? Okay. Clicked on the wrong icon. So
It's very nice customization. Very easy.
yeah,
There's if I write the query here, how do just your system will validate the query if I wrong any, if I get any wrong statement in your query.
so there's not much validation here, but if you, so first of
Just
all, it needs to be a valid select statement. So you could not do an insert, something like this. So that's not allowed. So that's the only validation. But then, because it can be dynamic, we don't validate the query here. So if you have a wrong table like this, it doesn't validate. It validates at execution time. So you see now an error message, and you see table of view does not exist, and it shows the line number, and that has the problem. In this case, we see straight away the table doesn't exist. You also see, basically you see it only when you run it, and the reason is that sometimes the query is built dynamically, depending on the parameters that the user has created, and then we cannot validate it at initially when you enter the query, because it's possible to enter queries with lexical placeholders that become valid at the moment when it's run. And we also see the query in a log file, so we can click on view log, and then we see the whole query here, and then we see the error message again.
excellent.
So that you can easily see what is going on. And there's one more small functionality which I would like to show you. So I did earlier, I created this sort of dashboard from the result set. And we can, yeah, so the users can do that themselves. So they can create this sort of layouts, and then they can also modify, let's say, the data sheet. And then once they have done that, because usually users, they do this on their laptop based on the data that they retrieve from the report. And then next time when they run it, they have to do this again. So in other solutions, but with this tool, the users, they can create this sort of layout on their laptop, then they can save it. So now it's saved in a downloads folder, and then they can upload the layout to the template. So they have an upload functionality here. And with that one, let me see, so now I'm selecting the file from my downloads folder, this one, hopefully the latest one on top. And don't need this window anymore. And this one also not. Okay, so now it's uploaded. You see here the file which I have, including the pie chart, and you see these additional sheets. So we could also give it a name. Let's say this is now pie chart dashboard, something like this. And that means when we run it again, let's run it for different parameters. Let's say 2007 instead. Let's run it for the whole year 2007, because previously it was January 2005. So here it's running. Now it's completed. So this was the old file, January 2005, and now it creates the same file again with the same layout, but different data. So the users can create these sort of layout templates themselves, and it always comes out in that layout then. With new data here. For example, you see now it's invoice dates. And that's very useful. The other thing which they like is, for example, if they would like to run a report for the largest suppliers here only, let's say building management and so on, they can copy the list of suppliers or any parameters, inventory items, account numbers, so they can copy it like this, and then use this multiple values functionality, and then paste it in this editor window, and then run the report exactly for these suppliers only as a restriction. So you see, and then now it ran exactly for these suppliers. So that's how that multiple values functionality works. Yeah, so that is more or less the tool. We also have, if you have already custom reports, I assume you have BI Publisher reports, we have import options to, for example, load them from BI Publisher. So we can load the reports from BI Publisher into the tool. Let's say the all inventory values report. And then it automatically loads the SQL query, loads parameters, and also the security and so on. And then we can run a report from Blitz Report instead. But there's no data now because I'm in payables, so we need to go to manufacturing, I think, or general ledger. So I think here we should have data, for example, in M1. And then we can run the report again. So this was the report that I've just imported from Oracle Standard, the all inventory values report. And now we have data basically. And the users can again create a template and maybe pivot the data, for example, by category like this. So that's the functionality. And if you use 12.2.4, do you use the enterprise command centers or not? From Oracle.
Actually, just I want to know just how to sell the customization to user.
You mean the business model, or how? What do you mean with how to sell? So
If any company want to use your software or your this
yes,
customization, just how to sell or buy.
they would basically, it works with a license key. So first of all, there's a free test installation, so you can download the software and then test it for 3 months or 90 days wide open. It's very easy to install. It's not a big project, so it takes only a few minutes, and we would also help your DBAs with the installation. And then the license version is based on the number of active users and the license key. So we have here in the tool, it works with a license key. For example, here we have a license key for maximum 100 users, and active are at the moment just 9 users. So it counts automatically how many users are running reports, and then every user running a report within the past 60 days is written to a license table. So this one here, in this case, we have 9 users which were running reports in the past 60 days. So that's how it works. And then there is a price for every user. So basically, customers, they would decide upfront how many users they want to license, and then they purchase a license key. Usually annual renewal is the most frequent billing cycle. And then they can use up to that number of users, basically.
Just your yearly subscription.
Yes, something like that. Yes, but you can every year you can decide if you want to continue or not, or with how many users you would like to continue, basically. So
If our company want the software in lifetime, is it possible?
at the moment we don't offer. You're thinking of perpetual, like lifetime. We at the moment we don't offer that option because, and the reason is that we have our licensing model works with that license key, and that has an end date, and basically every year the customers would need to decide. But we had customers who purchased 3 years upfront, for example, because they wanted to use different accounting methods. So that is possible, and then they, of course, they received a special price and so on. But completely perpetual we don't have.
If
But
my
it's very
company,
affordable.
if my company buy the your software for 1 year, After
Yes.
using 1 year, if the company don't want to use your software, just that time what should?
Then you can just keep it on your server, but it reverts back to the free version, because we even have a free version. So many companies, the smaller companies specifically, they start with the free version, which is limited to 30 reports. And then you can only use a maximum of 30 different reports. That's about it.
Actually, just if our company use this software, just
Yes.
put our report will create, and this is our internal technical team, right?
Your own reports that you create, you mean?
And that's is it possible to create any report by your tools?
Yes. Yes, of course. So that's the idea, that your technical team creates their own reports. Of course, you can use our out of the box report. So we have about 400, almost 450 reports out of the box, which come with the installation of the tool, specifically from a lot of
I think
reports from
I saw
manufacturing.
you there are many lots report in your queue, but
Yes,
our business solution or our business scenario is not match your
not standard.
boxes report. So
Yes.
actually we need to create new report, or we should update your existing report.
If you can use our existing reports as a basis, for example, this one, AR past due invoice. It's two scenarios. If you have a requirement in there, let's say an additional column, but it's a standard requirement so that other customers would need that as well, then please tell us, and then we add it into our standard report. But if you have a custom requirement, let's say something that no other customer might need, then you would make a copy of that report here, because otherwise, if you don't make a copy, next time you would upgrade the Blitz Report software, we would override your customization. So same as Oracle Standard. If you want to make a customization of an Oracle Standard report, you need to make a copy. But you can just go to Tools and Copy Report, and then you see you have your custom version of the report. And that one you can modify and would no longer be updated by our upgrades, basically.
We can't update your existing report.
You can also update them, yes, but the risk is that next time you apply an upgrade of the software, we would
Just
override your customization.
you suggest just copy the existing report and create a new report as per requirement, right?
Yes, exactly. Or completely from scratch, like I did with this test report here. So you can also just create complete new reports. But it's very easy, you see, to copy the report, and then now we have a copy of that report. And there's also version control. So if we go back to the previous one, you see this one is version number 6 meanwhile, because I changed the SQL 6 times. So
Yes.
here and you could also add the comment, let's say edit invoice data. So that's how this version control,
Understand.
so that you don't lose an SQL query.
How many dollars for a user?
$10 per month, US dollar per user per month is the starting price, and then, but it's basically annual
$10
per user
for 1 year.
per month. So per year is 120.
$120 for 1 year
Yes, for one user.
for one
And
user.
yes.
Okay.
How many users do you have which might need reporting?
Many. Just there are many users. There are our big company, and
Many?
there are many users. It's our big
Hundreds or
company.
thousands or
There are like thousands,
thousands? Oh,
because there are about 16 operating units.
yes. Yeah,
Many.
so
Just
you have different business units.
just 1 minute.
Yes.
Just we have a 21 operating unit.
Okay. In different businesses like steel and consumer goods, right?
And for laser.
Okay.
So there are many users in our company. This is the largest company in the Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, not all of them would. There's discounts. Then you see the volume discount. So from 250 users, the price comes down to $7.50. From 1,000 comes down to $5, and then from 2,500, $3, so that it's more affordable. Yeah, and of course, then for very large companies, there's of course also flexibility. Like for example, Amazon is our largest ones, so they have better arrangement because they are off the chart, off the list, basically.
Okay.
And also we know that, for example, in different regions of the world, not the same pricing does not work everywhere in the world because of differences in wages and and so on.
Okay, Andy. Actually, just I saw your demo session. Just I think it's a very easy and simple module, custom module. So I have a recording, and I will discuss our senior person about your demo, and I will show the demo to our senior person. Just after getting those people feedback, just I will inform you, and I will contact with you next time.
Okay. There's one more thing which I forgot to mention, which I think will be interesting for you as well. We have with Amazon, we developed a new functionality in a tool, which is to update data as well. So if your company is using Web ADI, then that could be interesting for you, because Amazon had a requirement to load, for example, bill of materials into their thousands of inventory organizations. They have more than 4,000 inventory orgs worldwide. And also they have thousands of purchase requisitions. So the EBS project that we work with them together now is to supply their internal goods for their warehouses. So for example, if someone needs a laptop, or if they need a new hardware in the warehouse, then that's how they use the EBS for. And they have had the need to load thousands of purchase requisition lines in the system. And for that, we have created an upload functionality. Can I show you that as well? Because I think that is an important new feature, and that could be quite interesting. Let me briefly show you that. So that would allow the users to first use the same tool to also update data into EBS. So for example, so here we have, this is our development environment, because it's not officially released yet. Amazon just went live with it 3 weeks ago, but we still want to improve it a little bit before we release it to our other customers. So we also have Amazon specific versions, because they had special requirements, for example, to load purchase requisitions across different operating units.
Please show you a report for Amazon. Just
this one here, for example. So they have let's see what they have. Yeah, my colleagues have written some comments. So the Amazon version is slightly different, because they have, for example, I don't know, my colleagues did it. They had some DFF requirements that they classify their warehouses in a DFF, because they have so many worldwide. And then they also had things like, from a DFF value, they want to derive some GL accounts and custom stuff. But we also created, then based on that experience, we created this default version for our other customers, which is for example, the pure requisition upload. And then as a user, you can choose what you would like to do, either create or update. And then in this case, I choose create or update. And that means you can query existing requisitions or create new ones. So you would first select parameters, like as if you run a report. In this case, requisitions from 2005 to 2007. And then you have an output file like this, which has color highlighting. So everything which is gray is not allowed to be updated. Yellow are the columns which are required. So if you create new records, you need to supply, for example, the line type and the source type and the item name and so on. So in this case, because the requisition number is not allowed to be updated, that's why it's grayed out, but you can update the header description. So we could say header description. So this is now, the file is on my laptop in the downloads folder. So you could, as a user, you can now update the data in Excel, and that's what they like. Or you could also create new records. So for example, if you have a large number of records that you need to create, then we just copy the records because then it's quicker. You can copy and paste. Or you could also create a new line. We also have list of values. For example, here you have, let's say I create a new line for goods, and from source type supplier, let's say this one. And which item, for example, if 8,000 is always good, this one. And then we also have dependencies, like in this case, for example, you see the item description, item related data is populated automatically. And let me show you how the error handling works. So for that, we can, if we enter a negative quantity, it will end in error. So I wanted to show you how that works because that's interesting. 99. And the need by date, 1st of Jan 23. Let's put this in. Oh, and we need this one. And what else? The deliver to location, for example, San Francisco. Or we can also, let's say we want to copy and paste Seattle. So now we have entered all the required fields. It's still on my laptop in the downloads folder. Then I'm saving it. Then there's some initial validation, but it's only validating if all the required fields are there. For example, if you have something missing, then it shows that you're missing the line type. So that's how it works basically. And so you would first create all these records on your laptop, then save the file, and then upload it to the server. And that's why we have developed this tool, because in Web ADI or in other solutions, the processing is done record by record, and that is too slow. For example, for Amazon, with their thousands of records, it would have been too slow. And in our case, it's very fast because we upload the whole file in one piece, and then it's processed on a server, and then it shows the result. In this case, everything ended in error, unfortunately, because the need by date needs to be greater than today. So we can correct these errors now in the Excel. So let's say 23rd of March 23. So let me correct the need by dates and hope that it gets through then. So these ones, so that should work. And what else do we have? We have the, and the location is not good, and the quantity must be greater than 0. Yeah, we can correct the quantity and the deliver to location. It didn't like. Maybe San Francisco might work better. Let's try San Francisco. Will it paste or not? Okay. Okay, so basically we can correct these errors and then try to process it again. Let's see what's left. Load the whole file and that it. I've uploaded it, then it starts processing. And in this case, for example, because it's pure requisition creation, it uses the Oracle Standard Open Interface table, populates the table, and then picks off the Oracle Standard Requisition Import concurrent. And Oh, everything worked. So that's good. So you see now all these were updated and these were created. So now we could go into
Understood. There's like for web API.
yes, but more user friendly because we have the error messages back in
Understood.
the Excel, and it's also a lot quicker. So it works with tens, thousands, or even 100,000 of records. So that's the idea. Yeah, that's more or less it. We have one more thing for manufacturing customers, but that's more a niche thing. So if your company is using planning or the planning modules, let's say advanced supply chain planning, then you have a screen like this where you can query for inventory items having a certain planning exception, something like that. And then you can see the results on a search screen. So here, for example, you can expand or collapse the bill of materials. Here we have one inventory item having the planning exceptions, and we can expand it. And from here we can, let's say 3 BOM levels. And here we can navigate out to the Oracle screens. So this is much easier than the Oracle standard because the users, they can easily navigate to, let's say, the quantity on hand and so on. So that's the idea, that you have navigation hub from here. And you could also run reports from here. So you could, for example, say if you want can highlight certain records, and then you can run, let's say, the horizontal plan. Do you use planning in your company as well? I assume if they are large, they use probably all sorts of Oracle modules, right?
Yes.
So specifically for planners, so this is interesting because here they have possibility to see the horizontal plan information in one Excel file instead of the Oracle screen, and that's what I like. So, for example, if they want to see the projected quantity on hand, can easily see it in Excel, with all the buckets here. And so this sort of tool, or they can see the supply demand information for certain items. So they can here, for example, for this monitor, they see that they currently have 1203 monitors on hand, and then they can see that there's a purchase order coming in for 200, and then there's a work order consuming another 1200 something. And they can navigate out by clicking on a hyperlink, let's say, to the work order, and then they can see easily the quantities in certain operation steps. For example, this one is in queue and so on. So it's navigation help for the Oracle supply chain modules. Or they can also release actions or planned orders. So they could, for example, say they want to release all these planned orders or the purchase order activity, rescheduling it out. So they can do that from here instead of from the planner workbench. Yeah, that was a little bit quick, but I thought it might be interesting for you as well to see that we have this form as well. And it comes also with the tool at no extra cost, because we basically give it to our manufacturing customers, because then they need more Blitz Report licenses. So we only sell the Blitz Report license, that's it. And all these other tools we include, basically.
Okay, thank you, Andy, for the session.
Okay.
Just I feel very well, but to see your demonstration.
Okay.
Excellent.
Let me.
Okay.
That's great.
I will inform you, and after discussion with our senior person.
Let me know if they would be interested to, let's say, have a demo call with them, or what we do next steps.
Okay, I will inform you.
Okay. All right, great. Then thanks for joining, and looking forward to our next call. Have a nice afternoon. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.